share if you're short. No, you're good?
I'm not really that short. I'm about 6 foot.
Oh, well.
I can't tell if this is 1 or 2.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Welcome. Here. Are you coming in to join us? Or you can- Okay, so how do I know if this is working?
It's working. I can see it.
Great. Okay. Welcome. My name's Brent Pace. I am a clinical social worker, and I am really happy to be here today. I have a couple of jobs. I actually am in private practice at First Avenue Counseling, which is over on First Avenue, which is why it's called First Avenue Counseling. If it was on Second Avenue, I probably wouldn't have thought of it as Second Avenue Counseling. And I don't know how many of you have heard of Encircle House, but it's a place down in Provo. It was started about 1.5 years ago, or maybe a year ago, 1.5 years. And it's an LGBTQ plus youth resource center. And they're opening one in Salt Lake, and so I'm going to be the clinical director of the one in Salt Lake. And that opens in July, so I'm excited about that. It's going to be busy, but exciting. Hello, welcome. Do you have something for me? Yeah. There's some handouts on the table. So, I want to, actually maybe I'll take one of those handouts from you, because I don't have one at my phone. Thanks. I did. So I wanted to do something a little different today, and that is I would like to get to know you just really briefly, who you are, if you don't mind. And if I was able to walk out and get 2 tickets to anywhere in the world for a 2-week vacation, all paid, where would you go for 2 weeks? You've gone. And why?
She's traumatized for the rest of the day.
You're traumatized for the rest of the day. I was going to try to take it out. I think we might need more copies. Oh, so you're getting some more? Great. Is everybody comfortable with that? Just really quickly? Who wants to start? I will. I would go to France. And the reason is because I have a dear friend who lives there, and she's been a friend of mine for 30 years. And I went there last year, and we just didn't get to see enough. And we try to go every few years, but I'd go back, and I would rent a car, and this time we would go southwest Paris. That's where I'd go. Who wants to go next? Yes.
I would go to southern Italy.
Okay, why?
I would just love to go on that coastline down there. I went on, this is my daughter Angela,
Okay.
but we went on a bus trip and just had fun people. I had a riot, went up through, in the summertime it was a lot of fun. But I'd like to go down and just spend some time in the culture instead of being on a bus traveling through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful down there, so.
Wonderful.
I've seen the pictures, so now I want to go.
Okay.
So.
Parla italiano.
You speak Italian. I don't. But I understand, I've heard that accent before.
And what was your name?
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Yeah.
And your daughter's name again?
Angela.
Angela. How about you?
And I don't know. I was thinking Ireland.
Ireland. Why?
I just haven't been there, and it seems like really green and just, I don't know, totally different.
Yeah? Somewhere different for sure. That'd be great. Okay. Who wants to go next? Yes. Go ahead.
My name's Sheree, and as boring as it sounds, I would go to Virginia because I have a new granddaughter there.
Oh, that doesn't sound boring at all
Spend a couple
then.
weeks with her, so.
Not at all. Wonderful, congratulations. That's great.
I can go. My name's Jessica, and I would choose to go to Turks and Caicos. I've never been there, but it is what when I envision tropical paradise to be, that's what that looks like from what I understand.
Mhm.
So the ultimate vacation for me, totally different from the mountains, but.
Yeah. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, lots of exotic places. Including Virginia, I love Virginia. Who next? Yes. Go ahead. Yeah, and then we'll go
My
here.
name's Emily, and I would go to Bora Bora. I just want the tropical, the house on the ocean and see the fish and everything.
Yes,
It'd be relaxing.
yes, very nice. Good, okay.
That
Wanna go
means we
next?
have to go.
I'm Ashley, and I would go to Santorini, Greece. I've just seen pictures on Pinterest and Instagram. Looks really pretty.
Does look pretty, yeah, I've never been there, it sounds lovely. Wonderful. Go ahead.
I'm Lexi. I'd probably go to Italy just because my grandma's always wanted to go, so we're trying to plan a trip there this year.
Nice,
Yeah.
yeah,
Spend time with grandma.
that sounds wonderful. Good. On to Italy. Who's next? Go ahead.
I'm Natalie. I would go to New Zealand to hike the Miller Trail because it's on my hiking bucket list.
Tell us about the Miller Trail.
From what I understand, you can basically walk the full length of the country and then stay on, there are places to sleep all along the way.
Wow. It sounds amazing. How long does it take to do?
I don't know how long it takes, more than 2 weeks, but I just do as much of it as I could.
Yeah,
in 2 weeks.
it sounds wonderful. Wow, it sounds beautiful. Great, okay. You had your hand up?
Oh, I'm Brooklyn, and I was gonna say New Zealand,
New Zealand as well?
but just because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan.
Oh, okay, yeah. Very good. Yes,
I'm Alex. I would probably go to either New Zealand or North Carolina.
or North Carolina. Okay, why North Carolina?
I'm a big North Carolina Tar Heel fan.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'd love to go to a football game.
right, very good. Have you ever been to North Carolina?
Nope, I've flown over it.
Right, okay. That's funny.
Thank you.
I have a sister who lives in Virginia. I have a sister who lives in North Carolina. But that's not that surprising. I have a few sisters. I have 10.
Oh, wow.
Who's next? Yes.
My name's Chris, and I was gonna do New Zealand, but I'll go with Alaska.
Alaska, why?
I'm a big skier, so if I go in the winter and do some big mountain skiing.
Big mountain skiing, yeah. Is that where they take you up and drop you, or?
Helicopter, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing.
I don't know if you can do it on the way there. But
It sounds really incredible, though. Wow, okay. Lots of amazing places. I feel like I'm going all these places in my head. Who's next?
I would pick the Galapagos.
Really? Why?
It just seems like it's a magical place and very pristine and kind of like going back in time.
Yeah.
Where things- I
Right.
don't know, I just always wanted to go to
Wonderful.
the different species.
Yep.
And all of the above, yeah.
And all the other places. Okay, great. We all have 5 lifetimes, right?
Yeah.
Who's next? Should we finish this side? Would you like to go?
I'm Courtney, and I really want to go to Croatia.
Croatia.
They have some really beautiful like caves on the beach, and they also have like this winery that does. They put the wine under the sea, and that's how it like ages.
Really?
And so they do these carafes, and they break the carafes in front of you with like seashells and all these urchins on it. It's really crazy.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Croatia. Very cool.
And I'm Peter, and we actually just got back from a place that I've always wanted to go. We went to Paris for 8 days.
Paris. City of my dreams. Yeah, I love that city. How was it?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was snowed though.
It So,
Their weather people are not good. So if you ever go to Paris, pack for both.
Maybe not in the summer, but.
Yeah. Well,
wow, okay, great, wonderful. All right, did we get everybody on this side? Think so? Who haven't we got? Would you like to go?
I'm Shannon, and I've always wanted to go to Haiti.
Haiti, why?
I'm just really interested in building that community.
Do you speak French?
No, I'm sure. Just wanted to make a mission trip there or something like that.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, great.
I'm Sophie, and the girls on the endorse there.
Mm-hmm.
This is really pretty.
Yeah, very good. Okay. You too?
My name is Sophia. I'd probably go to Japan,
Japan, why Japan?
because just the culture is really interesting, and a lot of the mythology is really cool.
Absolutely. Very good. All right.
My name's Wendy, and I'd like to go to Europe sometime. I'm using,
Yeah, great. All right. All right, we haven't we heard from just you?
I'm Allison. I haven't been to England, and I want to go up and down the Thames and experience the kind of ancient places from the river.
Yes.
It's on my list.
Sounds lovely. Great. Would you like to tell us where you would go?
My name is Sineha, and I would like to go to Turkey to visit my family.
Okay. So to everybody, have we gotten everybody? I would say, go. Make a plan and go. Right? Whatever it takes. Make a plan and go. Okay? I turned 55 years old yesterday. Feeling my age. And I'm realizing something really powerful, which is there is a finite number of times that I get to do things, right? Now, there's always a finite number of times you do things. But then when you get to a certain age, you realize, no, there's really a finite number of times you do things. There really is. There's a finite number of times you get to kiss your mother, right? Finite number of times I get to see my mom. Think about that. There's a finite number of times I get to see my favorite niece. I had pictures of her, but when I realized this was going on YouTube, I thought maybe I won't show pictures of her. I didn't get permission from her mom. There's a finite number of times that I will get to go to France, right? So when you start to realize that, and you think about it, and you realize, do what you can to go where you want to go. So I wanted to talk today about two very important things that I think are related to the stress that comes when you have a chronic illness. Okay? These are not meant to heal your chronic illness necessarily, but they are meant to deal with the stress that comes with the chronic illness. Okay? That's an important distinction. Okay? And those two things are mind-body medicine and mindfulness. And there's a very simple, and I know this is really reductive, so don't stop here if you're interested in these two things and think that this is a complete description. But mind-body medicine is the interactions among the brain, the rest of the body, the mind, and behavior. The ways in which emotional, mental, social, spiritual, experiential, and behavioral factors can directly affect health. And I want to talk about mind-body medicine a little bit today. And then mindfulness There's a couple of definitions here. A mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment. So just absolutely right now, where we are in this moment. While calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations, used as a therapeutic technique. Or, mindfulness is a psychological process of bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment, which can be developed through the practice of meditation and other training. Now, I want to talk about and I apologize, I have terrible allergies, so I'm probably going to be sniffling. I'd like everybody to do something with me just for a minute, and that is, if you can, put your feet flat on the floor. And sit up straight, and put things down if you can, so they're not bothering you. So back straight, imagine that there is a thread pulling your spine up to the ceiling, and hands not crossed, but relaxed. And you don't have to close your eyes for this experience, but you can just look towards the floor and soften your gaze. And now begin to breathe in your nose and out your mouth. And your out breath is going to be longer than your in breath. So it will mimic a sigh. And now, if you will, make sure that as you breathe in, your belly is rising as you breathe in and dropping as you breathe out. What you're doing is a diaphragmatic breath. You breathe in, rises. Breathe out, it falls. Breathe in, breathe out. And if you'd like, you can say two simple words. One as you breathe in is this. As you breathe out, moment. Breathe in, this, moment. I'm going to ask you to pay attention to the breath, how it feels as it goes in your nostrils and as it comes out of your mouth. Notice that the air is colder as it goes in your nostrils than as it comes out your mouth. And as you do this for a moment, if you're like me, thoughts will start to come to your mind about something else. Perhaps you hear noises, perhaps you are thinking about something else, perhaps you're thinking this is a crazy exercise, why am I doing this? And that's okay, just name them thoughts, 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 and come back to the breath and focus on what's going in and what's coming out. Focus all of your energy on your breath. And if you're like me, you may have worries that come to your mind. What do I need to do tonight? What did I do yesterday? And that's okay too, that's normal. Just name them worries, 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 and come back to the breath, focus on the breath. Okay, take 3 more breaths like that on your own. And as you finish, wiggle your toes, shake out your fingers. All right. Anybody notice anything? Anything? You're more relaxed? Yes. Okay. Anybody else?
More awake.
More awake. Okay, interesting. Anybody else? Okay. So I want to talk about something really interesting about this breath. This is called a soft belly breath. And it is a form of meditation called mindfulness meditation. And it actually is really interesting what it does. It does something very specific. I want to talk about the central nervous system just for a minute. I don't want to get too complicated or too scientific. But if you think about the nervous system as being the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system, the half of the nervous system that keeps us safe. It's the nervous system that would suddenly leap into control if someone were to come through that door right now and say, I'm going to kill all of you, and had a knife. Now, it's scary just to think about, right? What happens? What happens? Immediately, without us thinking about it, our limbic system does something. It tells adrenaline to be dumped into our bloodstream. Our heart starts to beat faster. Blood goes away from our fingertips and our toes and goes into our big muscles so that we can do what? Fight or flight, right? Fight or run. And we try to make a decision really quickly. Our eyes are dilated. What can we do? Do we fight this guy? Do we run out the door? Do we build a barricade? It all happens so fast, we have no conscious control over it happening or not happening. It just happens, just like that. The fight or flight system. Now, there's one other thing besides fight or flight. You know what it is? Fight, flight, or freeze. Yes. Fight, flight, or freeze. Sometimes people freeze. And sometimes we see mammals freeze. So this is something we share with mammals. Now, I don't know if you've ever watched a nature show and you watch a tiger chasing an animal and the animal is running like crazy and it gets away. And what happens like 5 minutes later? What's the animal doing? Is it going, ah? No, it's just eating. And that's because the parasympathetic nervous system, the other half of the nervous system, has come in and said, you're safe now, be calm. And it goes, okay. And it just starts eating. But what would happen if that scenario happened to us? Would we just be calm 5 minutes later? No, we'd be like, oh my gosh, can you believe that happened? We'd be calling people, we'd be like, I can't believe this happened, oh my gosh, we should have been here, and the knife was really big. No, seriously, I almost died. And then, every time you came into this building, what would happen? You have this memory, right? And if it was really bad and somebody got hurt, you might end up developing something called post-traumatic stress disorder even, right? Because it was so bad that we have this big cerebral cortex, right? And our parasympathetic nervous system would be going, no, calm down, you need to relax, everything's okay. And we'd be going, you know what? I know better. The world is a dangerous place, right? And what happens over time with somebody with PTSD is they become hypervigilant and hyper-aroused. Hypervigilant is watching all the time for danger on the horizon, right? And hyper-aroused is their heart rate is always going faster and there's always a little bit more adrenaline in their body. They're always prepared for a fight or they're always prepared to run, right? That is the perfect description of stress, right? Not to that extent, perhaps, but when you have a chronic illness, you are stressed. You never know when you're going to wake up with one of those terrible headaches, do you? Or do you? Somebody knows exactly when they're going to wake up? You do know? Every single morning. So for you, it's constant. You have it constantly. Okay. For those of you who don't know, do you worry? Okay. I'm gonna tell you something, I'm a migraineur myself. I didn't know if I was gonna wake up this morning with a migraine or not. And guess what? I did, damn it. And so what did I do? I thought, maybe it'll go away. I kept my eyes closed for a few minutes. Do any of you do this? Maybe it's not a migraine, maybe I'm just making it up.
Yes.
Because I only have so many of those pills, right? And then I think, Brent, you have 7 clients today, get out of bed and take your medicine, right? So, my suspicion is that if your headaches are like mine, you have a level of hypervigilance. What if I eat this food? What if I go to bed late? What if I do a particular activity? What if I get those 3 or 4 triggers and bam, I wake up the next morning with a headache, right? So, my contention is, my thesis here is that if we can actually be in a state of relaxation on a regular basis, we can slow down that anxiety about our headaches. Now, will it slow down the number of headaches? I don't know. I haven't done the research. What I know is that my anxiety about my headaches is lowered when I do these activities. And that says a lot for me, because what that does is it gives me a much better quality of life. Okay? I'm not constantly worried about what's going to happen when I wake up tomorrow, or what's going to happen this afternoon. All right? Now, a couple of other things about this. This really interesting thing about this parasympathetic nervous system is, how do we switch it on? How do we get it to work? How do we get it to convince the sympathetic nervous system to calm down? Well, I just showed you the switch. It's soft belly breathing. The reason is because there is a 10th cranial nerve called the vagus nerve, also called the perigastric nerve, and it comes out of our brainstem and it comes down and it goes out into our belly. So when we breathe in and out, what that nerve is hearing is, Brent's calm. And it tells the other nerves, calm down. That's why you feel relaxed when you do that exercise. That's why your body feels relaxed. We didn't do it for very long, but you don't need to do this exercise for an hour. This is how long you have to do it for. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. If you do this exercise for 5 minutes in the morning when you're calm, and 5 minutes at night when you're calm, and you do it as a practice, it starts to have an impact on your day. And what I mean by that is, then, when I do it regularly, and I'm up against something stressful in the middle of the day, this is all I have to do. Okay, I can face it. It brings me back to that place of calm. Does that make sense? Okay. So, that's my promise to you about the switch. Great. Now, what is mindfulness? We read a definition. A lot of you came in with yoga mats. I would think you guys know what mindfulness is all about. Tell me about mindfulness in yoga. Do you experience mindfulness in yoga?
Just getting centered and being here now.
Getting centered and being here now. Being in the moment. Right? Great. Anything else?
You have to be aware of what your body's doing, so you're hyper-focused.
Yes. So you have to be aware of what you're feeling in your body and what your body's doing, so you have to be hyper-focused. Absolutely. Okay. So when I am doing therapy and a person walks in and starts talking about their family and does this, what do you think I think?
They're protecting themselves.
Yeah, why?
Because you're talking about something uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm talking about something that isn't so great, maybe, or has been dangerous, or has been problematic, right? Standing differently, having a different pose, changes that. I want to show you something. This is what I do with my clients all the time. If you sit up straight, and you take your right shoulder and you lift it up to your ear, and you take it back, and you take your left shoulder up, and you take it back. How does that feel? What have you just done? Yes, you're more confident. You've also opened up your heart, right? You have to breathe differently, and you have to be more trusting. Does anybody know Brene Brown? You know her personally?
Yeah, like we're best friends.
I knew it.
hang out with her all the time.
Okay, lunch next
I've
Thursday?
read lots of her books.
Okay. What does she say courageous means?
I don't know.
Wholeheartedness,
Wholeheartedness.
right? Wholeheartedness. Isn't that a wholeheartedness stance? To have your heart open like this? Okay. So when you find yourself during the day doing this, pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to what your mind is doing. Pay attention to your workplace. Are you in a toxic workplace? Are you working in a place you shouldn't be working? If this is how you come home at night, think about it, right? Okay, so here are some things that I think are really powerful. Mindful eating. What is mindful eating? Well, I obviously am not missing a lot of meals, but when I will slow down and I will do mindful eating, it changes the way I eat because I start to appreciate the food. It's very easy for me to go through the day and not eat anything and then have dinner and go, ah, and eat like a lion, right? But mindful eating is slowing down, taking a piece of food with your fork, a part of food, smelling it, tasting it, setting the fork down, chewing it, and then having maybe a conversation or a piece of a conversation, and picking up the fork, having another bite. That's mindful eating. Why would we do that? Why do that? How does that change our relationship with food?
So we eat what we need and we don't overeat, and we make healthier choices by listening to what makes our body feel good.
Right. How long does it take for our body to tell us that it's full?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, right. So if we eat really fast, then our body goes, you ate too much. And you're like, you're 20 minutes late. And it's like, you're 20 minutes too fast, right? Okay. And then what is a walking meditation? Well, I love this. I was just talking with somebody in New York City, and I said, try this walking meditation. He said, well, talk to me about that. I said, as you're walking down the street, I don't want you to slow down really very slow, because that's not probably a good idea in New York City. Walk the normal speed and just name everything you see in your mind. Just name everything you see. Fire hydrant, dog who I hope is going to be cleaned up after itself, car, taxi, 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 building, clouds. And as you do this, you're walking along, and as you say those things, they come into your mind, and then you let go of them. They come into your mind, you let go of them. They come into your mind, you let go of them. And what you're doing is you're training your mind for meditation. Hold on, let go. Hold on, go. Hold on, let go. Okay. Dialogue with a symptom. Great exercise. I'd love to do it right here. We don't have time, but you actually take a symptom, and it can be your headache, for example. And you say, okay, I'm going to imagine that my headache is a person sitting in front of me. And this headache has this personage. It's like a person in front of me, sitting in this chair, and I'm going to have a conversation with it. And so you take out a piece of paper, or actually a journal, and you write, headache, me, headache. Okay, you start and you say, why are you here, headache? And the headache says, because I like to make your life miserable. Why do you like to make my life miserable? Oh, it makes me happy. And you start writing, and the amazing thing that happens is you have insights about the symptom that you couldn't have otherwise, having a dialogue with the symptom. Yeah. It's a tough exercise when you get started, but you just have to write and it will come to you as you go. Maybe try something a little more simple. Or I often do insomnia, if I start to have insomnia, and I will find out what it is that's keeping me awake, right? By dialogue with it. Or any symptom can be used that way. Okay, now I want to talk about getting stuck. How much time do we have?
25 minutes.
25 more minutes? Great, okay. Are you a courageous bunch, willing to do something that's unusual? Yes?
Sure. Yes.
When you get stuck, it means you're stuck in some kind of pattern or some kind of situation, some kind of relationship. And the most powerful way to get unstuck is to do something called shaking and dancing. You willing to try this? It's pretty wild. You have to really throw yourself into it. You can't poo-poo it. Okay? We're not going to do the whole thing. We're only going to do 3 minutes of shaking and about a minute of dancing. You ready for this? Okay? And you do what you can do. I don't want you to hurt yourself doing this exercise. You shake as much as you can shake, all right? And you dance as much as you can dance. And we're not in 7th grade. We're not going to watch each other dance. You can turn your back and dance however you dance. And I'm going to give you a choice between David Bowie and whoever sings Radioactive.
Imagine Dragons.
Yes. Which one?
David Bowie.
That's what I thought. Here's how you do it. You ready for this? Okay. Now, indigenous groups would very often get together before they would go on the hunt, before they would go to war. And what would they do? They pump themselves up, right? And very often there's whirling, and there's jumping, and there's shaking that goes on. Like this. Okay? Just like this. But you shake your whole body. Ready for this? Okay. You're going to have to get up and move your chairs. And you have to stand with your feet about this far apart, a little further apart than your shoulders. And make some room for yourself. We're going to shake everything you can shake, everything you feel comfortable shaking, and we're going to do it to some music. And this music is really great. You'll love it. I promise. You ready for this? Your arms and your fingers. Okay? And then let it move up to your shoulders. Shake your shoulders out. Still move your arms. And then as they add instruments, you can start moving other parts of your body. Okay? And as you get into it, you can get as crazy as you want. You can get as calm as you want. But you can move your hips. But just keep your feet stable. Okay? How does that feel? Is it good? You're not getting very crazy. Okay. When you really get going, you might let out a yelp. You feel it? You feel the music move you? Okay, I'm going to move the music a little further ahead. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It just gets crazier, right? Are you getting tired? Yeah, you get tired doing this, right? Okay, bend your knees. you have to move though. You have to get tired. It's crazy how tired you get. Now think about doing this for 10 minutes. We did this for 10 minutes. It's exhausting. Okay, good. Good. Yeah. Right. Keep going. 10 more seconds. Keep going. Okay, now stop and freeze. Just freeze where you are. As soon as you're going to stop. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Now listen to your body. What do you feel? Tingling? Okay, now when you hear this music, just let it move you. That's it, yes. You got it. Just let it move you, however much you want it to.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues.
Oh, dance the blues, baby.
To the song they're playing on the radio.
Who remembers David Bowie?
Colors the lights up your face. Let's sway through the crowd to an empty space.
How does it feel? Good?
Say run,
It's great stuff.
I'll run with you.
Hated when this guy died.
If you say hi.
Oh, I could listen to that all night. Okay, tell me how you feel. Grab some water. How do you feel?
Energized?
Energized? Good. That's how you should feel. Anybody else?
Happy.
Happy? Doesn't it make you feel happy?
Yeah.
When's the last time you danced? Been a while?
This is so funny because I just instituted nightly dance parties with our family. So we pick like 4 songs and just dance like right before bed, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's really cool.
I love this. That is such a great thing to do. I love it. Anybody else?
I feel younger.
Huh?
I feel younger.
You feel younger.
It's an activity, that I did when I was younger, but I don't do anymore.
I know, isn't that crazy though? I never go dancing. So, I taught this to a little boy, to a Mexican boy who was really sad because his dad was facing deportation. And he came out, he said, "We're gonna shake and dance," he told his family. They were like, okay. I put on music and he made his whole family shake and dance. It was so cute. I loved it. Okay, so shaking and dancing. If you want a link to that music, I can send it to you if you send me an email at the email address that I'm going to show you in a minute. Guided visualization. Such a great way to find a safe place that you can go to whenever you need to. Now, if you look down here at the bottom, do you see where it says insightadmissions.com, conscious leadership resources? It's either that one or the mindfulness exercise. Yeah, it's that one. So if you'll go to that, there are a ton of exercises you can do. There's breathing, there is body scanning, there are a fair number of meditations, and there are also visualizations that you can do. Great stuff. Okay, now, some great suggestions, I think, for increasing one's mindfulness. So, a mindful walk. And on the mindful walk, different than what I told you about, which is a mindful walking meditation, a mindful walk is walking outside and just looking at everything. Everything that looks interesting. You know the greatest place you can do this is Redview Gardens. Love that place. Love it. So during your lunchtime or in the evening, set your intention to experience the world around you with all your senses. I love this suggestion. These are not my suggestions, by the way. They come from the Insight and Admissions one. Try doing something differently every day. One thing differently. You know, we're creatures of habit. We're not habits of creature. We're creatures of habit. So you do one thing differently every day. So drive to work differently, or walk to work differently, or walk to work instead of drive to work, right? Say hello to someone you don't know. The more attentive you become to your surroundings, the more likely you will see something that you find to be beautiful. And then make time for something beautiful in your life. Visit an art gallery. Indulge in buying flowers. Somebody bought me Gerber daisies yesterday. I love Gerber daisies. Plant bulbs. Purchase a coffee table book of your favorite artist. Surround yourself with things you love. And then, I love this one, become an amateur photographer. It's easy to do this these days. If you have a phone, you have a camera. And the cameras on your phones are so good, right? Okay, so several years ago, I invited this French woman who lives in Paris, whom I've been friends with for 35 years, to come to the United States, and she did. And it was this time of year, and it was my birthday, and she wanted to buy me something, so she bought me a DSLR camera. And I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. So I started taking photographs, and it's been quite a few years ago, and it changed my whole perspective on the world. My whole perspective. I started looking at things differently. And I found this wonderful blog on photography called Learning to See. Isn't that great? A great blog. Learning to See. I started learning to see for the first time. Learning to see. Learning to see people differently, learning to see light differently, learning to see color differently, learning to see black and white photography in a new way. So I just wanted to share a few of those photos with you, which I thought were fun, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. Does this actually control the PowerPoint?
If it's hooked up to your computer.
Oh, it's not. So I'll do this. So, does this look familiar? I know it's really hard. I wonder if we could turn the lights on. Or is that going to ruin your...
There's another one.
That's good enough. Do you know what this is?
Mount Olympus.
So, and this, these are called the Twin Peaks, right?
Yeah.
That was just a week ago, or less. I love the mountains that surround this valley. And I didn't realize what they were until I left for a year and a half and came back. And I flew into the valley and I went, oh! Takes my breath away. We have such a beautiful place we live in. Okay, so I took this picture on Sunday. You know where you have to go to take this picture? Any guesses?
The top of the gateway.
Yeah, sort of. I was on 6 North overpass.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I nearly died. People were very happy. Who's that idiot taking photos on the top of the overpass? Does this look familiar? It's not a Rothko painting, I promise. Salt flats, yeah. I love the salt flats. Same place, different day because the water was there. It's very rarely water there, right? Anybody know where this is? You been on this road? No, it's on the other side, so it's over by Ivans, by St. George.
Yeah. Snow Canyon.
Snow Canyon, yep. The Oregon coast. Yeah. Also the Oregon coast. We're not that far from the Oregon coast. Well, okay, so it's a bit of a drive. You can't do it on an afternoon, right? And here's another picture of Salt Lake. I wish you could see these better. So this one was backlit by the sunset. It's kind of fun. So Mary Oliver lives in New England, and she wrote this some years ago. And I think that she is one of the most mindful people I've ever met, who I haven't met. I feel like I've met her. She says, wild geese, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to love, or let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. So, this is my contact information. I'd love it if you wrote to me, if you want links to these other things that I talked about, or to the music that I played by Osho. Please feel free to write me. And now, questions. And let's go on the mics.
Did you talk about hugging meditation?
Yes, I didn't. Hugging meditation. Okay, so this is my favorite meditation of all. I don't know how I missed it. Hugging meditation is what it sounds like. The person you love the most. Doesn't have to be the person you love the most. The person you love. I did this last night, and it was my birthday, but I did a hugging meditation for 3 minutes. Do you know how long hugging somebody for 3 minutes is? It's a long time. And you think, oh, well, you know, it's this person you love, it's the person that you're like in love with, it's the person you're married to. It doesn't seem that long. It's a long time. And now I get, can we do a hugging meditation? It's lovely. Try it. You just don't say anything. You just hug. That's all. Other questions? Comments? Additions? Corrections?
I was listening to the Migraineur summit that's on right now.
Yes. Well, I know that the Apple Watch does that. It taps me and tells me to breathe every hour. So I know that there are apps out there that do that.
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. You can set an alarm for yourself, and when it pops up, you can just call it breathe. It just pops up, and you go, oh, time to breathe.
And if any of you aren't listening to the Headaches Migraine Summit, you should. You go online, it's about the last day, but they'll have an encore day, and the speakers are really good. Kathleen Dupree was actually one of the speakers. Very informative.
How do you get to it?
You can just, I would just say, just Google it, and then they'll take you to the page, and you have to register for it, but all you do is put your name and your email in, and it sends you a link, and then you can just go in and listen.
Migraine World Summit.
Yeah.
Migraine World Summit? Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. You've been going to the whole thing?
Well, you just listen to the speakers for free online,
Uh-huh.
so there's like 4 a day.
Is it happening right now, or is it, where is it?
It's just online.
Just online.
They interview
People.
experts and then they post it online, so you can access it when it's
Okay,
convenient.
fine.
And it's been available for 48 hours, but each day has been available to
Wow,
listen to
I
for
didn't know
48
about
hours.
Yeah, and
That's
you
great.
can buy the series afterwards if you want. But it is probably worth buying it because I learned lots of stuff I didn't know about.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Very good. Anything else? I have a card if you want a card. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you for shaking and dancing with me. Not every group that I do that with is willing to do it. But thank you, thank you.